So let's talk about cravings. What causes them? What to do with them? Cravings would be really a difficult situation, right? We've all been there, and I want to just normalize them and talk to you about them and what might be causing them. And one of the most important things you can do is to track your cravings and start to apply what you learn in this video to your cravings so that you can start to get a sense of what your pattern is. So your body's amazing. It knows when to sleep, when to wake up, when to go to the bathroom. You've been learning from me as well that your mind, your body, your nervous system, it's always working toward healing you, right? Your body maintains that temperature of 98.6 degrees. It repairs itself when it's wounded. And for some of us can know the miracle of pregnancy and childbirth, right? Your heart never misses a beat. Your lungs are always breathing. The body, your body is a super computer and it doesn't make mistakes. I want to say that again. Your body doesn't make mistakes. Well, you're just going to notice that. See what happens inside when you hear that. My body's not making a mistake. My body's not making mistakes. My body is on my side. If this, depending on what happens inside when you hear me say this, right, you might start to get a sense of what your relationship with your body is like. Right? Your lungs are always breathing. Your mind, right? It's always trying to work towards healing for you, towards, in many ways, survival, right? And so we want to look at the foods, the deficits and behaviors in your life that are the underlying causes of your cravings, right? Because if we understand that the body, again, is on your side, your body is not making mistakes, it's doing its best, and it's simply responding to the information you're giving it through your food and your environment. If your body is always just responding to what you're giving it, it's just responding to the food and the environment that you're in, that then tells you your body is giving you data. Your body is simply communicating with you, and cravings are an important part of that. Many people view cravings as weakness. But again, they are important messages meant to assist you in maintaining balance. So when you experience a craving, I want you to deconstruct it. Ask yourself, what is my body wanting and why? What have I not maybe been giving it that it's asking me for something? If you can start to think in this way, this can radically shift your relationship to your body. Your body is a supercomputer. Take that in again. My body is a supercomputer. It makes no mistakes. It's simply communicating with me. Now, if you're having a lot of cravings, your body's doing a lot of talking, right? So let's talk about what the 8 primary causes of cravings are. So number 1 is lack of primary food. Being dissatisfied with a relationship or having inappropriate exercise routines, for example, too much or too little or the wrong kind. Maybe you're bored, maybe you're stressed, maybe you're uninspired or exhausted by your job. Maybe you're lacking a spiritual practice. Remember, go back to your circle of life handout, your circle of life exercise. When's the last time you did that? It's maybe been a few weeks. Go back. You can do another one. You can do these every week if you want. All of these things, and if you've got deficits in your primary foods, this can cause cravings. So eating can be used as a substitute for entertainment or to fill the void of primary food. Number 2, water. Right? Water. A lack of water can send the message that you're thirsty and on the verge of dehydration. So dehydration can manifest as mild hunger. So the first thing you need to do when you get a craving is to drink a full glass of water. Even a slight dip into dehydration can increase anxiety as well, because the body can feel like it's under threat very quickly if it starts to get dehydrated. So if you suffer from anxiety, if you struggle with anxiety and your nervous system tends to be more on the sympathetic side of the spectrum, You need to be drinking water, okay? And then also, if you're drinking too much water, this can also cause cravings. So be sure that your water intake is well balanced. Usually the rule of thumb is about your body weight in ounces of water, okay? Number 3, yin-yang imbalance. Certain foods have more yin qualities, expansive, while other foods have more yang qualities, contractive. Eating foods that are extremely yin or extremely yang can create cravings in order to maintain balance. For example, a diet too rich in sugar is a lot of yin, right? Expansive. Ooh. And it can cause a craving for meat or protein. Yang. Okay, meat is very acidic. The proteins in meat can cut through the muscle tissue or penetrate the muscle tissue better because of its acidity. Okay, so know that if you're eating meat, if you're choosing to eat meat, that this is a very acidic food, and we want the body to be more alkaline. So you do need to balance that meat intake with a lot of vegetables, okay, which are more alkaline. So again, if you're eating too much sugar, you might start to have cravings for meat. Or if you're having too much meat, yang, you might have cravings for sugar, right? Or eating too many raw foods, yin, can cause cravings for extremely cooked, dehydrated foods, or vice versa, okay? So this is why we want to eat as little processed food as possible, really try to keep things balanced. Don't always eat raw food. Definitely start to think about the seasons. We're going to be talking about that in Ayurveda. But start to notice, am I eating a lot of heavy food, yang, intense, salty foods? Or am I eating a lot of yin, sugary, starchy, raw foods? Okay. Number 4, the inside coming out. So what this means is that sometimes cravings can come from foods that we have recently eaten, foods eaten by our ancestors or foods from our childhood. So a clever way to satisfy these cravings is to eat a healthier version of one's ancestral or childhood foods. Okay, you can head over to my Pinterest boards. There's a few that I'll link here: healthy alternatives to cravings and plant-based diet boards to begin to learn how to make your favorite foods healthier. Okay, and then follow me on Pinterest while you're at it, of course, but just start to notice this. Am I craving my childhood comfort foods, or am I craving a food that my ancestors ate? That's a trip, right? To start thinking about that. All right. 5, seasonal. Again, we're going to be talking more about this when we get into Ayurveda, but often the body craves foods that balance the elements of the season. In the spring, people crave detoxifying foods like leafy greens or citrus foods. This is because this is, in Ayurveda, kapha season. So usually it's the wet, thawing, heavier season. And so to balance that out, your body might want, this is why we cleanse in the spring, and it's because it's balancing that kapha dosha out. Okay, and we're going to be talking again more about that in Ayurveda. And then similarly in the fall, people can crave grounding foods like squash, onions, nuts, and definitely, and then during winter, people will crave hot, heat-producing foods like meat, oil, fat. You'll notice too, if your ancestors, if your heritage came from folks in more of the northern or southern, pretty far south, where they don't get a lot of sunlight during the winter, for instance, a lot of their foods that they needed to have a lot of this heavy quality to kind of keep the calories coming during winter, because calories, fat, sugar keeps your body going, and it creates it keeps your body temperature regulated during winter. I remember being a wilderness therapist, and really we'd be out there in the dead of winter in the desert of Utah, and just being out in the cold all the time. Number one, all the women typically would gain about 10 to 15 pounds every winter, and then just like that in the spring it would come off. So very interesting noticing how our bodies are adapting, especially people in female bodies can really need to keep that their body fat needs to be at a healthy level in order to maintain hormone balance, right? So In the winter, you'll notice if you ever go to Europe, in the northern countries in Europe, they often have these winter markets, and it's warm, spiced wine, mulled wine, right? Or again, fatty foods. And in wilderness, we would eat lots of cheese and butter and bacon even. And you just really wanted it. And it's just an adaptation. So start to notice, how does my body start to shift in different seasons? There's a reason for that, especially if you are connected, if you're more connected to the elements, right? We don't want to be eating a bunch of raw tropical fruit if we're living in Manhattan, for instance, and it's snowing and cold, and no, and it's dark a lot, right? We want, or like up in Alaska, I was just in Alaska, or up in Seattle, right? They get less sunlight. Now, if you're closer to the equator, the seasons tend to be relatively the same, right? You've got a different environment. This can really affect what we want to eat. So again, like holiday foods, another good example. Foods like turkey, tryptophan. The tryptophan helps us sleep. We usually want to sleep longer because there's less daylight. Things like eggnog, sweets, again, the mulled wine in some of these Northern European countries. Okay, these spices keep us moving, keep things going. And again, we're going to be talking all about spices in Ayurveda as well. And then we're number 6, lack of nutrients. Okay, this is a big one. If your body is not receiving adequate nutrients, it's going to produce maybe odd cravings. For example, inadequate mineral levels can produce salt cravings, and overall inadequate nutrition produces cravings for non-nutritional forms of energy like caffeine, right? We've all been there, usually using caffeine to kind of boost our energy levels, when really it's just blocking the receptors that are, that tell us that we're tired. That's all it's doing. It's not actually pulling, it's not giving us more energy. It's just blocking our tired receptors essentially. And so what are you noticing? Ooh, I'm really craving a lot of caffeine. If you're craving a lot of caffeine, for instance, that's a good indication that you're headed toward adrenal fatigue, frankly. And you're actually going to want to spend a weekend, see if you can at least start with a weekend, or if you can take time and cut caffeine out for a weekend or a full week. That could be really great for you. If you're noticing that I'm not really getting the same effects from the stimulants I'm using, caffeine, for instance, then you need to actually cut back on the stimulants. And so this could be a great indication that you need a lot of sleep, you need a lot of rest, and you need a lot of probably alkaline foods like leafy greens, green juice. Like, I know if I have too much caffeine, usually it's if I have coffee, and it's too much coffee for me, or I'm sleep deprived and I have coffee, ooh, I will get a headache. And then what can often really help is a really tall glass of green juice or lemon water. So if you're, again, craving a lot of caffeine or stimulants, cut back by either switching to like a black or green tea, or cutting out the caffeine entirely, ideally, and switching over to a green juice, celery juice, water with a squeeze of lemon or lime. And that can really help give your body the rest it needs. You're going to notice you're going to sleep better. It'll be much better for you. And when you start to incorporate the caffeine again, ooh, it's going to feel way better. You're going to actually feel it, and you're going to notice, you're going to get more input from your body. Like, ooh, 1 cup of coffee is enough for me. I don't need 2.5, right? If you're at a place where you're like, like coffee, you need to start cutting back. Okay. And then, number 7, hormonal issues. So when women experience menstruation, pregnancy, or menopause, fluctuating testosterone and estrogen levels can cause unique cravings. Now, in another video, we're going to talk about how to eat Ayurvedically for your cycle, if you have a cycle. Oh, yes, we want to support our bodies. In the female body, we have a 28-day cycle, whereas people in male bodies tend to have Their bodies tend to cycle daily. Okay. And so through the course of a month for folks in female bodies, we need to remember that there's a certain time during the month where we're going to have less energy. There's going to be a time where usually during ovulation that we're going to be more gregarious and charming and social, maybe even, and different times of the month where we're going to feel much more productive, on course, right? And other times where we're just like, oh, I can't do it. I'm too tired, or I'm low energy. I just don't really have it in me. I really just want to rest. I want to eat sweets, or I want whatever it is. So just start to notice this. You can track this in your cycle and see what comes up. Number 8, de-evolution. Okay. Or I would maybe call this regression. Okay. When things are going really well in our lives, sometimes we can start to self-sabotage what that positive success. So we might crave foods that throw us off, right? That make us really tired, thus creating more cravings to balance ourselves. So this can often happen too from low blood sugar and can result in strong mood swings. Okay. So start to add these different causes of cravings and start to incorporate them into your food journal. Be sure to note any cravings you're having, as well as when they happen and how you were feeling at the time. And then if you're noticing a lot of cravings for sweets, we're going to be talking about how to we want to start to add sweet root vegetables into your diet and crowd those sweets out, as well as using natural sweeteners, like organic pure maple syrup or raw honey or coconut sugar, things like that, and cut out the processed refined sugars like white sugar, brown sugar. There's a whole corn syrup. If you've got corn syrup anywhere in your diet, you got to get that out, and start to replace it with things that have natural sweeteners so your body knows how to process that. If you're eating sweeteners that are processed like that, or sugar alcohols, if something says 0 sugar and it tastes sweet, y'all, there's this sugar alcohol in there and it's wreaking havoc on your body. We don't want those sugar alcohols in there. And actually, frankly, there aren't a lot of 0-calorie sweeteners that are very good for us. So that's a whole nother video. But if you're craving sweets, we want to start to replace that with sweet, natural things. Again, like fruit, sweet root vegetables, sweet potatoes, yams, carrots, and raw unprocessed sweeteners, maple syrup, again, raw honey, things like that. So your body knows what to do with it. Okay, all those fake processed sugars, your body doesn't know what to do with it, and it's going to make your cravings worse, 100%. So start to track all of this. I hope this is helpful, and I'll see you soon.